Hey guys, Chance here with Rocky Mountain, here to give you our first impressions of the all-new 2019 KTM 450 XCF. Now what I have here is the big off-road cross-country racer coming from the Orange team, KTM. In 2019, the EXC and XCW models didn't receive a lot of changes. All the major changes came to the SX and XC models. Some of those big changes are a new frame for better rigidity, a longer swing arm. It's got more adjustability. I'm able to pull the axle back just a little bit further for some high-speed stability. All new bodywork. It gives me a sleeker look and feel to the bike. And the motor itself, it's a new shorter cylinder head, and it's got a few other updates to it. Now, one thing I have found is that there are plenty of reviews and shootouts on the 450 SXF motocross model, but there's not a lot of talk about the XCF, even though they're closely related. Now, in these magazine motocross shootouts, the KTM is not taking the top spot. Now, what they're saying in the reviews is that the motor, it's not as exciting as some of the other competitors. It may be a little slower to rev, making it feel slightly heavier. The power down low, it doesn't have a lot of bark, so it's not super exciting out of the corners. But they all said it had plenty of power and is extremely fast. Now, how is this going to affect us average riders? And how are these power characteristics going to affect us in off-road conditions? Now, I'm a consistent B-level rider with some A-level moments and some definite C-level moments. And I want to see how this bike does for us. So today, I'm going to take this bike on some slick, rocky single-track trails. And later, I'm going to head down to southern Utah and test it out in some high-speed desert conditions. So I'm going to gear up and head out.
Okay guys, I've got a little bit of time on this bike now. Give me some good first impressions. So far, bike feels great. Starting with the ergonomics. If you've ridden any kind of KTM or Husky, it's a very standard KTM feel. I'm coming off of KTM right now, so it's quite comfortable. One thing I am noticing though, right off the bat, is how narrow this bike feels. It doesn't have those big hips and the shoulders that KTM always used to have. I'm able to move up and down on this bike, extremely comfortable. One thing I am noticing is that these handlebars are a little wide. It's not bad, but if I do get up into some trees, I might want to cut them down just a little bit. And whether it's the handlebars or suspension, I don't know. But there is a lot of feedback from the front end of the bike. I'm feeling just about everything this tire is doing. It was quite a bit worse. We had it at the recommended pressure in the forks at 10.1 bar. But for the stuff we were riding today, that was just a little too much. So we let a little air pressure out, and the forks are a lot better now. It's able to soak up this chop a lot better. These forks are kind of known for sitting up high in the stroke and not settling down. They're still sitting pretty high in the stroke, but the lower air pressure really helps with this rocky chop right here. The shock matches the forks really well. The linkage shock, it'll hit the big stuff, the small stuff. The balance of this bike is feeling great. It doesn't do anything unexpected. It's a really comfortable place to be. As for the clutch and brake pull, the brakes are nice and firm, just like every standard Brembo. They're great. The clutch pull, again, Brembo hydraulic, no complaints there. But now onto the main focus of this bike that I feel is the motor. The power, it revs, and the rev limiter is close to 11,000 RPM, which is nuts. This thing, it goes on smooth. And then it just climbs. For desert racing, this bike is a is a weapon. Another option that we have on this bike is traction control. Now this traction control can be used with map 1 or map 2. And some people may think of the traction control like one in your car. It's a little different than that. It doesn't take away any of the fun. It gives you all the power you would want in any condition. It just helps save you from yourself. It helps keep that rear tire under you without having you thinking about it. And the last option we have on that control switch is launch control. Now this launch control, it's activated by pressing both the traction control button and the map button and holding them down. And then your FI light up here up front will start flashing. When that's flashing, your launch control is ready to go. It's fun. It makes starts just a little more easy. It makes you just a little more faster than your friends. So as for my overview on this bike in these conditions, a slick, rocky Singletrack, KTM did an awesome job of making a light 450 coming in just at that dry 223 pounds or so. It's manageable. The power when going through this stuff, you never grab quite too much throttle. However, when the trails open up, you are able to open it up and unleash all of that horsepower. The suspension, in my opinion, would need to be softened up just a little bit to soak up the rock and the chop, especially when going slow. But when you're going fast in this stuff, it does great. The faster you push this bike, the better it does. And that's it for my slick, rocky conditions. Now I'm gonna head down to southern Utah and hit some red desert. Okay guys, now I have a couple hours of testing, both in some slick, rocky, pretty gnarly Singletrack, and a little bit of testing out here in the desert. I just can't stop smiling. This bike's awesome. One thing I do have a small complaint with is I do have to check the air pressure of my forks about every ride. It's not a deal breaker, but it I don't know, a little more prep work before I go out and ride. So now into the part I've been wanting to talk about. The motor. So KTM gave this bike a new low profile or shorter cylinder head. It's got some different power characteristics than the previous model, and in a lot of those magazine motocross shootouts, that was kind of a big complaint. They didn't say it was exciting out of the corners. It wasn't as snappy as some of the other competitors, and it's true. I rode this newer CRF 450 RX, and that motor is snappy out of the corner. It's aggressive just about any time you hit the throttle. You'd be coming into a corner, you try to roll onto the throttle, and as soon as you did, it would come to life and just shoot you in whatever direction it wanted to. So it was really exciting. It was fun riding that bike. But this bike, it seems a little more refined. It still has plenty of power. I'm able to come into a corner, roll onto the throttle, and still have time to basically point and shoot. Oh, and it's got plenty of power. The gearing on this bike, it matches the motor really good. First gear seemed a little tall, so when I was doing a little bit of rock crawling, it was I stalled it a few times, but the motor, it pairs up really nicely. It doesn't fall on its face every time you get near those lower revs. It'll lug pretty good. The gear shifts are extremely smooth, and that has partly to do with the new transmission built by Pankel in this bike. Some really high quality racing parts. The first few hours I've been playing around in map 1, getting used to the power and whatnot, hoping that I would be able to see a difference in the power. And when I switched to map 2, there was a definite change. This map switch, it truly does bring this motor to life. So now for the overall feel of this bike, KTM hit the nail on the head. This bike is awesome. It'll do anything you ask it to do. It's got more power than you would ever need. And even though I took it out of its element in a slick, rocky, gnarly single track, it did just fine. I was able to control it. I was able to manhandle it, having the bike being so light. Clutch pull was awesome. Brakes were strong. And even though the tranny might be geared a little tall for that gnarly stuff, the motor handled it awesome. So if you're looking for a desert bike, if you're looking for a bike you want to race and win on, this should definitely be on your list. You're able to ride this and push it, and the harder you push it, the better it gets. The suspension handles it awesome. The motor enjoys being up in those revs more. Now, if you have any comments or questions, please throw them below. I want to hear them. And if you like this video and want to see more bike reviews, bike builds, how-tos, and product spotlights, be sure and subscribe. And be sure to check out our website to find all the parts and accessories you'll need for this bike, especially a skid plate. I'm Chance with Rocky Mountain. Thanks for watching.